Meh tengok pada slide PDF yang ada dalam link masing-masing. Dalam link ni Widat dah masuk, Rahil dah masuk, Nisa belum masuk. Nisa masuk. Ya Nisa? Okey. Sementara kita tunggu kawan-kawan lain, kita slowly recall balik apa yang kita dah belajar sebelum ni, iaitu the components of plasma membrane. Okay, for this particular slide, for this particular slide, untuk mereka yang baru menceburkan diri menggunakan PDF, this is a draggable icon. There are draggable icons on the right side of your screen here. So number 1 is cholesterol. Which one is cholesterol? You drag the icon and put it there. For example, is it this one? And then number 2 is carrier protein. Is it this one? Number 3 is glycolippe. Is it this one? Okay, you can simply drag and place the icons according to the structure. So number 5 is phospholipid molecule. Which one constitute phospholipid molecule? Is it this one, for example? Okay, so you can just click and drag on the icons to label the structure. For today's activity, for today's lesson, we will go back to plasma membrane chapter 3 after discussing about chapter 2 last Monday. Don't worry about chapter 2 as I go through our lesson plan atau study plan until chapter 6. I can see that we will revisit the structure and functions of many components of the cell from chapter 3 until chapter 6. Since we are revisiting the structures, we are going to discuss in detail about the function of the structures discussed in chapter 2. So when we discuss it in chapter 3, 4, 5 and 6, our discussion will be in more detail and the questions that we will try to answer will be more in depth. So it is like revising chapter 2, but we are applying chapter 2 within a new context. So that's why we will straight away jump into chapter 3 today. Previously in chapter 3 discussion, chapter 3 class, we have tried to draw and label the structure of plasma membrane and a bit of introduction about the permeability of plasma membrane. So we will revisit some of it today and start on discussing on the different types of transport that occurs in plasma membrane. So during our class, as I mentioned before, you will refer to 2 different screens. Number 1 is Google Meet screen. The one that you are seeing right now is the summary of all the answers from all of the students in PDF right now, in my PDF right now. Whereas in your own PDF, you can only see your answer. Okay, so I show you a demonstration. So this is a student view of the PDF. So I will show you the answer since most of you have finished labeling. Kan, semua dah habis label kecuali siapa ni? Widat belum. Nombor 5 tu Widat belum gerak lagi. Okay, sebab macam pelik pula 5 tu masih ada dalam kotak kan. Okay, so in order to take a look at the answer, I will show you using my own screen to show you the correct labeling. So number 1 is cholesterol. Cholesterol is any yellow hexagon that you see here. Kalau kamu nak label dekat sini boleh, ini pun kolesterol, dekat sini pun kolesterol, dekat sini pun kolesterol. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cholesterols here. So any 6 cholesterols that you label are correct. So sekejap saya tengok. Okay, semua orang punya kolesterol, labeling dia betul, bagus. Okay, number 2 is carrier protein. Sayangku, number 2 is not here. So number 2, we put back in the box. There is no carrier protein in this structure. Tak ada carrier protein pada struktur ini. So kita kembalikan pada kotak. Widat dengan Nisa, itu bukan carrier protein. Yang kamu label tu adalah integral protein. Okay. Function integral protein ni kita tak cerita pada level KSSM. Tapi memang tak ada carrier protein kat sini ya. Mungkin kalau kita tengok other parts of the plasma membrane akan ada lah. Kita akan jumpa lah gitu. Okay. Number 3. Number 3 is glycolipid. So we can see here a structure with glycogen chain on top and lipid chain at the bottom. This one, the green branch that is located between phospholipid bilayer. Okay, ada banyak. I can see many of it. Ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ada 9. So any 9 of the glycolipid structure is correct. Let me see. Okay, semua orang betul. Position nombor 3, Rahil betul, Widat betul, Halis betul, Atira betul, semua orang betul. Okay, nombor 3, very good. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 is channel protein. Channel protein ni semua orang betul. Position dia betul, bagus. Okay, number 5 is phospholipid molecule. So phospholipid molecule is the structure with the red circle and yellow tails. Nak label mana-mana pun boleh asalkan memang kena pada kepala fosfolipid atau ekor fosfolipid. So position Widat, position Nisa tu pun betul, tak ada masalah. Atira tu mungkin kena kalih. Okey, Atira dah betul kan? Halisa pun betul, Atira pun betul. Okay, very good. From what I can see here, okay, your positions are correct, your labelings are correct. Okay, since we have identified the structures that build up plasma membrane, let's take a look at how does these structures influence the transport of substances across plasma membrane. So, whenever we want to take a look at a membrane's permeability towards a substance, bila kita nak tengok bahan apa yang boleh merentasi membran plasma, kita ada beberapa soalan yang kita kena jawab lah. Kita kena dapatkan jawapan untuk beberapa soalan. Number 1 is whether it is soluble in lipid or not. If it's soluble in lipid, it can dissolve in lipid. It can diffuse across phospholipid bilayer. Okay, so purple characteristic, purple box, seperti dalam Google Meet ni ya. Purple characteristic, purple box. So if it is lipid soluble, it can diffuse across plasma membrane. Substances that are lipid soluble such as fatty acid, glycerol, vitamin A, D, E, K, and steroid compounds. In terms of size, if the size is big, if the size of the substance is big, they have to go through carrier protein. Okay, they have to go through carrier protein. The substances such as glucose and amino acid have to be transported through carrier protein because these two substances are too big. But what if the substances are small? If the substances are small and non-polar, such as oxygen and carbon dioxide, please take a look at the left side of the screen. They can diffuse through phospholipid bilayer because they are small and they are non-polar. They are small and they are non-polar. What if they are small but they are polar, such as water? They can go through phospholipid bilayer as well. So there are 3 substances here that can diffuse. There are 3 groups of substances here that can diffuse through phospholipid bilayer. Either they are lipid soluble or either they are a small polar substance or small non-polar substance. What if the substance is small but have charge. They are positively charged or negatively charged. So the green box represents charged substances such as, obviously lah, mestilah ion kan. So gambar ni saya punya labeling salah. Saya label kat situ glucose dengan amino acid. Salah. What is the correct example? Saya tukar slide ni kepada slide yang boleh draw. Okay. So pada slide ni kamu boleh draw. Okay, what we can do here is I show you. Since the labeling for the second one is wrong, which is ions, the examples are not glucose and amino acid. Bolehkah kamu betulkan pada slide masing-masing? What are examples of ions that goes through channel protein? So how can we uh, label it correctly? Use the pencil tool, and then since the background is white, we use the white color. We use the pencil tool and adjust the size, and we use it as a sort of eraser. Since we have erased the name, then we can put our own answer there. Okay, use the text function, click on which size that you want, and click on the place that you want to type. What are the types of ion here? Kan? Apa example, specific example? When we want to give example, dia mestilah nama khas, mestilah specific name, okay? Okay, let's try. Mari kita sama-sama betulkan. Bagus. Okay, let's take a look at your answers. Okay, what are examples of ions? Okay, bagus. Okay, bagus Nisa. Nisa dah tulis itu K plus dengan Na plus. Tak semestinya yang positively charged, yang negatively charged pun betul juga kan? Apa ion yang negatively charged yang kita selalu guna juga dalam badan kita kan? Okay, K plus dengan Na plus seperti yang ditulis oleh Nisa, yang ditulis oleh Rahil, Anissa pun dah start tulis. Siapa lagi ni? Okay, Halis belum lagi, on the way. Nur Atirah pun nak siap dah. Okay, Atirah pun dah nak siap dah. Okay, Widat pula. Widat on the way tu. Widat pun on the way. Okay, so you can use examples, any positively charged ions or any negatively charged ions as your specific example. Negatively charged ions macam Cl minus, since all of us consume salt kan, kita makan salt. Salt is basically the combination of Na plus and Cl minus. So when salt dissolve in water, it will form Na plus and Cl minus, and Cl minus is used for many chemical reactions that occur inside our body. Okay, macam mana kita apply pengetahuan mengenai permeability of plasma membrane ni pada konteks soalan. Okay, jom kita tengok soalan yang pertama. Okay, this question is about understanding the structure of plasma membrane and the types of structure that can diffuse through it. So take a look at the first question. What is the characteristic of substance that can be transported through A? Cuba tengok struktur A tu apa. Can you give one example of substance that can be transported through A? So for this question, okay, for this question, you can use the text function on the right side of the screen and start to answer. Okay, I think, okay, you start with characteristic first, yeah? What is the characteristic? And then baru kita bagi nama, kan? What is the name of the substance? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, these are your answers. Sekejap. Okay, Anissa. Cuba tengok tadi. A tadi apa? Sekejap Kita ada 6 orang. Kita short seorang Okay, nanti saya check sekejap Alright. Okay. Your first level answer, the characteristic is correct. Lipid soluble substance, good. There is another characteristic that we can use here. Ada tadi seorang dia dah start tulis karakteristik selain daripada lipid soluble substance. So, tak ada masalah. Terus tulis, memang ada bahan yang selain daripada lipid soluble substance boleh diffuse across A. Apa dia? Okay. And then example. Okay. Widat punya example tepat. Okay. What is the example? Oh, Sarah. Sarah Kamal. Okay. Sekejap. Okay, good. Dia soalan ni 2 level ya. Mula-mula kita bermula dengan apa tadi? Kita mula dengan the characteristic lipid soluble substance, very good. And then the name of the substance such as glycerol, okay, and steroid compounds. Steroid compounds tu substances yang diperbuat daripada kolesterol seperti hormon estrogen, progesterone and testosterone. Okay, tapi kamu dah bagi glycerol tu pun bagus sebab itu memang nama spesifik. Okay, ada seorang dia bagi karakteristik yang lain. She offers a different perspective. She said that small non-polar molecule. Good. Small non-polar molecule. But since you are providing the characteristic of small non-polar molecules, can you give example under the category small non-polar molecule? Fatty acid example yang kamu bagi tu ada untuk lipid soluble. Boleh tak kamu bagi contoh yang untuk small non-polar molecule? Okay, CO2, very good. Thank you. Alright. So, I screenshot the answers that provide both both point of view of a different point of view regarding substances that can diffuse across A. For your references, nanti dah dapat jawapan dapat nota dari pedek nanti boleh refer balik. Okay, saya screenshot dan saya sudah lampirkan dalam Telegram. Okay, kita cuba lagi satu. Dekat G pula. Can you state a characteristic of substances that can be transported through G? Can you give one example of substances that transported through G? Okay. Okay, dah ada. Alright, let's take a look at this slide. Okay, what do you think? What is G? Kalau kita kenal G, kita boleh kenal characteristic of substance that can be transported through G. Okay. That can be transported through G. So we know that G is channel protein. G adalah channel protein. Saya bersetuju. Saya bersetuju dengan jawapan Rahil dan juga jawapan Anissa serta Widat dan juga Halis. Okay. So all four of you are stating the correct characteristics, ions atau small size solute and ions. You mention ion, okay. So ion, betul contoh dia ialah K+. Anissa very simple. Dia terus cakap K+. Okay. Now, Halis dia tulis, dia memberi pendapat, example dia adalah water. Which is true. Which is true. I accept your answer because there are channel proteins dedicated to transport water, which is called aquaporins. So it is true, it is acceptable, no worries. Okay, semua pun siap. Okay, karakteristik dia ion atau charged substances and example dia any ion or any specific ions. Okay, ini simple saja. Now, these are the things that we will go through today, which are how does simple diffusion work? Kita tengok mechanism simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, active transport, and identifying the similarities and differences between the two types of transport. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Now, in this diagram, I'm showing you a summary of all passive transport and active transport. Can you identify the differences between passive and active transport in terms of direction of transport? Let's take a look at the red arrow. The red arrow indicates the direction from where to where. Okay. And then what is the route or path taken melalui apa? Melalui fosfolipid ke, melalui transport protein ke, and lastly, can we differentiate in terms of energy requirement? Boleh mula? Okay, what is the differences between passive and active transport in terms of direction, in terms of the route, and in terms of energy requirement? You can use the text function to write your answer. Okay, let's take a look at your submissions. Bagus. Okay, good. Most of you have started describing about direction. Okay. Apa nak cakap? Untuk paddock ni, kamu boleh type satu, submit. Type satu, submit. So, nanti pada saya, dia akan keluar Widat submission 1 of 2. Widat submission 2 of 2. So, macam tak adalah banyak, panjang sangat kamu nak type kan? Type satu-satu pun tak apa. Okay. Oh, Widat dah pandai dah. Widat dia ada 2 submission kat dia. Okay, I understand. Sarah pun sama. Saya nampak ada 2. 1 of 2, 2 of 2. Bagus. Okay ya. Let's take a look at your answers. Okay, good. For the first level, most of you are answering in these two forms. Menjawab dalam dua bentuk ini. Either you say for passive transport, the direction of transport is from high concentration to low concentration area, or the transport of substances in passive transport follows concentration gradient. Okay, and then sekejap ya. Whereas in active transport, the transport of substances is against concentration gradient, whereas in another way we can do this is we write the transport of substances in active transport occurs from low concentration area to high concentration area. Good. Okay, itu difference level 1. Difference level 2 is what is the route or path taken. So for passive transport, dia punya route atau path taken tu ada macam-macam. So kena sebut. Okay, passive transport occurs through apa, tapi active transport occurs through apa. Kan? Ada tak active transport tak macam-macam. Passive transport macam-macam. Okay. So level 1, most of you sudah okay. Saya okay. Okay, siapkan dulu sebentar. Tak apa, no worries. Pelan-pelan buat. Yang penting kita faham. Okay, good. I can see some of you have identified the route. Untuk passive transport, saya setuju. Passive transport occurs through, okay. Ada dua konteks yang saya nampak dekat sini. Ada yang buat passive transport tu in terms of process. Dia kata occurs through simple diffusion, osmosis and facilitated diffusion. Tapi ada juga yang bagi konteks passive transport occurs through channel protein, carrier protein and phospholipid bilayer, while active transport occurs to carrier protein. Okey, dua-dua pun saya setuju. Cuma untuk student yang jawab passive transport occurs through simple diffusion, osmosis and facilitated diffusion, tambah sikit pada ayat kamu tu pasal active transport. Okay, mungkin kamu boleh tambah there is no variation of transport for active transport, kan? Tapi kalau passive transport ada 3 variation, sama ada simple diffusion, osmosis and facilitated diffusion. Very good. That is, I can see 2 different views here and both are correct. Bagus. Okay, both are correct. I like the way you think. Okay, I will screenshot your answer. I will screenshot your answer so that it can be a sample answer serve as a guidance for your friends. Okay, dan last kali, passive transport does not involve the use of energy, while active transport requires the use of energy in the form of ATP. Okay, sekejap ya. I will personal message you in case you confused. Okay. Okay, ada satu lagi saya nak personal message. Sekejap. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Ada interruption sekejap. Okay. So, Rahil, cuba check kamu punya personal feedback. Kalau kamu edit sikit part last tu, saya nak screenshot jawapan kamu sebab kamu punya idea tu bagus. Okay, good. And finally, passive transport does not require energy, while active transport requires energy. Very good. Okay, ini yang final punya. Sekejap ya. Saya screenshot. Okay. Okay, there's one more answer that I would like to share with you. Okay. Okay, so Rahil dah dah mulakan idea ni, jadi saya screenshot idea Rahil. So there are two ways to talk about the route, whether we talk about the use of phospholipid bilayer or transport protein. Untuk passive transport dia guna phospholipid bilayer atau transport protein. Tetapi untuk active transport it can only occur through carrier protein only. Hanya carrier protein saja. Okay. So I've shared the screenshots of all the good answers, sample answers so that all of you can refer to it later. Most of you got the idea already. Memang betul dan tepat. Tak ada masalah. Alright. Let's take a look at this one. Okay. This image shows simple diffusion. Based on the image, let us explain simple diffusion of yellow ink in the glass of water. Okay, what we explain by starting with the characteristic of yellow ink. Apa characteristic of yellow ink that enables it to move this way? And what is the direction of movement of the yellow ink? And what is the end result? What is the end result that we can see in that glass of water? Okay, ini adalah sampel soalan SPM 2015. Cuma saya bagi dalam bentuk animated GIF so you can see clearer. Right. Clearer. Okay. So what is the characteristic of yellow ink? Yellow ink ni apa sifat dia yang membolehkan dia buat tindak balas tu? Sifat dia apa? Okay, tak apa kalau tak sure yang nombor 1, terus skip nombor 2, nombor 3, tak ada masalah. Tak apa. Okay, it serves as a guide because whenever we explain the processes, markah untuk explain the processes usually 2 to 3 marks. Dia push pergi sampai 3 marks sebab dia start dengan level 1, what is the name of this particular process, and then number 2, number 3, point 2, point 3 ialah explaining the steps. But since this question already give you, it is a simple diffusion process, so number 1 to 3 is regarding explaining the steps in simple diffusion. Anissa, betul-betul, that can easily dissolve. Betul Anissa. Okay, nanti Anissa tengok feedback ya. Okay. Okay, most of you have identified the direction. Okay, bagus. Most of you have stated yellow ink move down concentration gradient. Okay, ingat dia punya definisi awal-awal tadi yang kamu buat tadi. Direction tu ialah from high concentration area to low concentration area kan, atau going down concentration gradient. So concentration gradient tu sayangku, kita refer kepada area yang concentration dia tinggi dan area concentration dia rendah. Tetapi sebab sekarang ni kita dah nampak area tu berada di mana, lokasi area tu berada di mana, we include the location of concentration area in our explanation. For example, the yellow ink move down the concentration gradient from the top of the glass atau top of the water to the bottom area, to the bottom of the water. Kan sebab kita nampak yellow ink tu dari atas pergi ke bawah. Nampak beza dekat sini anak-anak ialah sebelum ni kita cakap pasal concentration area. Sekarang kita tahu position area tu dekat mana. Jadi kita nyatakan area tu dalam jawapan kita. Okey? Katakanlah nanti dia punya hablur atau crystals is used to explain this type of diffusion. Dia guna hablur atau crystal. So hablur is a solid that usually at the bottom of the glass. So high concentration area dah jadi bottom of the glass to the upper part of the glass kan. Okay. So kena tengok konteks. Okay. So most of you have started the second and third explanation already. Okay ya. So saya ingin kongsikan dekat sini jawapan level pertama oleh Anissa. Okay, Anissa punya idea ialah the characteristic of yellow ink that enables this process occurs is because yellow ink can dissolve in water. Itu level 1. Okay, step number 1 kita nak explain. That is the characteristic number 1. Number 2, okay. Number 2. Okay, sekejap ya. Okay, number 2 saya kongsikan jawapan daripada Halis. Halis kata the yellow ink move down the concentration gradient which is from the top of the water to the bottom part of the water. Okay, level 2 punya answer sudah ada. Level 3 punya answer, the end result is okay. Okay, level 3 punya answer. Okay, macam Sarah punya answer ni pun betul juga. Yellow ink will dissolve completely in water as it has reached dynamic equilibrium. Saya mencari satu lagi observation yang juga sesuai. What can we observe inside the glass nanti? Apa yang kita nampak pada glass tu nanti? Seluruh glass tu jadi apa? Okay. Itu adalah alternatif kepada jawapan. Okay. Sarah pun ada. Sarah punya answer pun okay juga. Sarah kata the whole glass of water turns yellow. So, pada Google Meet sekarang, saya akan screenshot jawapan ini. Jawapan ni 3 level. 1, 2, 3. Which is, it started off with the characteristic of yellow ink, which is can dissolve in water. Number 2, it moves from upper high concentration area, which is the top of the water to the bottom of the water. And at the end, the yellow ink dissolve completely because it has reached dynamic equilibrium. Kalau tak ingat yang ni, kamu boleh terus cakap observation dia, the whole water turns yellow. Betul juga. Dapat markah juga, the whole water turns yellow. Okay, betul tu because it is a valid observation. Okay, so sekejap. Let me see other answers. Okay, good. Okay, saya dapat baca jawapan yang lain, jawapan sebelum ini. Jawapan Widat pun betul. Jawapan Rahil pun simple and correct. Rahil, saya nak minta tolong tukarkan daripada move. Okay, ramai yang guna move saya baru perasan. Okay, anak-anak, boleh tak kita tukar? Instead of move, kita guna verb diffuse. Kita biasakan ya. Anak-anak, mari kita sama-sama tukar. Instead of move, kita guna diffuse. Okay? Because this is a simple diffusion, kan? Okay, this is a simple diffusion. Sekejap ya, saya kena tulis kat sini. Okay. Yang lain tak ada masalah. Part yang lain, very good. Okay, I can see you are starting to write your answer in a logical manner that is understandable, tak kes, regardless of siapa baca kamu pun jawapan. Cikgu ke, examiner ke, memang boleh faham. Okay, anak-anak, simple diffusion is special because it can occur with or without the presence of plasma membrane. If there is a presence of plasma membrane, this process only available for lipid soluble molecules, small non-polar molecules and water. Macam kamu sebut tadi lah. Okay, so kita tengok pula aplikasi dia pada human anatomy. Okay, application in human anatomy. Can you use the principles of simple diffusion to explain gases exchange in alveolus? Macam mana nak explain menggunakan prinsip menggunakan prinsip simple diffusion untuk explain gas exchange dekat sini. Jom kita cuba.
Excuse me, cikgu.
Ya, saya.
Saya nak tanya kalau yang dekat buku teks kata move down the concentration gradient until a dynamic equilibrium is achieved. Apa maksud dynamic equilibrium tu kalau dalam konteks yang simple diffusion tu?
Okay, kalau dalam konteks simple diffusion, bila kita tak boleh differentiate, there is a region of high concentration and low concentration. So kita kata pada keadaan itu sudah mencapai dynamic equilibrium. Kalau ikut gambar apa? Gambar glass of water tadilah, when we can no longer see a significant difference of number of molecules between high concentration region to low concentration region, kita dah tak boleh differentiate dah. So kita kata itu adalah dynamic equilibrium. Kenapa dynamic? Sebab katakanlah solution region A ada 10 molekul, region B ada 10 molekul. Sudah ada equilibrium kat situ. But these 10 molecules does not stay in one place. It can go either way. It can diffuse either way. Nak pergi dari solution A pergi solution B atau solution B pergi ke solution A. Regardless of the movement of substances, the number of molecules yang 10 pada solution A atau solution B tu masih lagi dikekalkan. Okay, saya ulang lagi sekali. Katakanlah kita ada dua solution A, solution B yang dipisahkan oleh plasma membrane. So at the end of simple diffusion, we can see that the number of molecules in solution A is the same as the number of molecules in solution B. So they have achieved dynamic equilibrium, because we can no longer identify which solution is the high concentration region, which solution is the low concentration region. We call this as dynamic equilibrium because the molecules can freely diffuse from A to B or from B to A. Tak ada masalah. They can still move. But then even though they move, the number of molecules yang 10 sebelah dekat solution A, 10 dekat solution B tu kan, the number of molecules are still maintained. So if two molecules go to from A go to B, two molecules from B will go to A. So it still move and the number of molecules are maintained between the two solutions. Nanti kita apply lagi sekali dalam osmosis. Saya akan tunjukkan lagi sekali dynamic equilibrium tu macam mana. So saya harap fasa pertama ni explanation saya menjawab soalan Nisa.
Faham, cikgu.
Alright, thank you. So I know that in our textbook, the term move is used instead of diffuse. But I would argue that nak kata apa I would argue that using a more precise verb will make us understand the context better. That will show the examiners that we know, even though we don't mention it is a simple diffusion, but the use of the verb diffuse shows to the examiners that we understand. We are explaining simple diffusion. If we are using move, move tu not necessarily show diffusion. Mungkin kita tengah cakap pasal active transport dan sebagainya kan. So itulah saya punya argument. Tapi tak apa, both verb are correct. Okay, good. For the first level, oxygen concentration in the alveolus is higher than in blood capillary. Bagus. Okay. So kita dah tak guna dah istilah high concentration region, low concentration region. Sebab kita dah tahu concentration of oxygen in the alveolus is higher than in blood capillary. So instead of using region, kita gantikan region tu dengan name of that specific region. Okay, so oxygen concentration in alveolus is higher than in blood capillary. So number 2, oxygen oxygen diffuse from alveoli atau alveolus to tak habis lagi. Sorry. Teruskan. Okay. So level yang pertama tu betul ya. Dan tolong betulkan kalau kamu tak include nama structure. Sebab kita tahu definisi dia ialah movement of substances from high concentration region to low concentration region. But now we want to apply the definition in the context of oxygen transport. So we know that the area that has a lot of oxygen is alveolus. The area that has lesser number of oxygen is the blood capillary. Okay. Okay, good. So, direction tu kena sebut instead of move down concentration gradient, kita sebut gerak dari mana pergi ke mana. Okay, oxygen diffuse from where to where. Okay, good. Sekejap ya, ada satu answer kat sini. Okay. So, sekejap ya. Okay, jawapan daripada Atirah ni is very good. Okay, Atirah dimulakan dengan perbezaan concentration, number 1. Number 2, oxygen diffuse from alveolus atau alveoli to blood capillary. Okay, okay. Dua ayat pertama Atirah ni betul, is a good example. Okay, saya mencari carbon dioxide pula. So nak cerita carbon dioxide. Okay ya. Untuk carbon dioxide, memang nak kata apa ya, memang semua both carbon dioxide dengan oxygen move down concentration gradient. Tapi down concentration gradient untuk oxygen tak sama dengan carbon dioxide. So for example dekat sini, sekejap ya. Okay, for example dekat sini, okay. So jawapan yang saya tengah pamerkan dalam Google Meet ni is a complete answer ya. Perhatikan dekat sini. For oxygen, high concentration gradient dia is in alveolus, low concentration area dia is in the blood capillary. Number 1. Number 2, therefore, Atirah tutup dengan oxygen diffuse from alveolus to blood capillary. Okay, ini pula idea daripada Widat. Widat kata, concentration of CO2 in blood capillary higher compared to alveolus. Okay, statement number 3. Statement number 4, therefore, carbon dioxide diffuse from blood capillary to alveolus. Okay, kita tak boleh simply kata move down concentration gradient sebab kalau carbon dioxide move down dia ialah daripada blood capillary to alveolus. Tetapi move down untuk oksigen ialah daripada alveolus pergi ke blood capillary. Sebab itulah instead of nyatakan secara generic move down atau move down concentration gradient, kita kena sebut juga move down concentration gradient from alveolus to the blood capillary untuk oksigen. move down concentration gradient from blood capillary to alveolus untuk carbon dioxide. Okay, anak-anak, jawapan kita mestilah precise. Okay, sekejap ya, saya screenshot dan saya share dekat Telegram so that later when you receive your notes, you can also refer to these answers. Mari saya check jawapan ke semua orang. Sekejap ya. Okay. 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 Sekejap ya, saya tengah hantar personal message. Okay. Okay, Halis punya pun okay. 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 Kejap ya. Kita tunggu ada seorang kawan kita tengah betulkan jawapan dia. Nanti kita move to the next one. For the next part, saya nak tunjukkan, nak discuss osmosis. Sebagaimana saya janji dengan Nisa, saya nak tunjukkan dynamic equilibrium tu kalau kita nak gambarkan dalam bentuk number of molecules, macam mana rupa dia. Sebab osmosis pun sama, since it is also a part of a type of passive transport, berakhir dengan mencapai dynamic equilibrium. Okay, kita tunggu sekejap. Ada seorang kawan kita tengah update jawapan dia. Okay. Okay, good. According to concentration gradient. Tapi awal-awal tu dia dah cakap daripada blood capillary masuk ke alveoli. Okay, she got that covered. Very good. Okay. Okay, kita bertenang sekejap. Diffuse to okay, dah siap. Alright. Okay, anak-anak, let's take a look at osmosis. Oh, sorry Anissa, I have to cut short your answer sebab ada dua lagi transport yang kita nak discuss. Okay. Tak apa. Nanti refer pada Telegram untuk update your notes, okay? Okay. Alright. Thank you so much for your understanding. Okay, saya tulis kat sini, this video show how osmosis work kan? Bukan video ya, sorry. This slide is basically showing you how osmosis work. Okay. Now, osmosis hanya boleh berlaku when there is a presence of semi-permeable membrane. So, garis putus warna oranye dekat tengah-tengah tu represents semi-permeable membrane that only allows certain substances to go through. So, antara solution A dengan solution B, solution A only contains water molecule, but solution B, they are solutes. So, yang triangle tu adalah solutes, dan solute tu dissolve in water. Sebab itulah setiap bucu solut tu ada water molecules melekat pada dia. Itu saya nak tunjukkan dekat situ, oh ini adalah solut yang larut air. Okay, masalah dia sekarang ni ialah kalau kita gunakan prinsip simple diffusion, senang saja kita akan lihat solute triangle tu akan bergerak, will move atau diffuse from solution B pergi solution A. But the problem is the solutes or the substances are too big to diffuse atau to move across the membrane or through the phospholipid bilayer atau through the membrane. So instead of balancing the number of large molecules, this is how osmosis work. Okay, so osmosis, we started off with understanding difference in water potential. Kita bukan banding solute potential atau concentration of solute, kita banding concentration of water. Macam mana saya tahu solution A has a higher water potential than solution B? Okay, meh kita padam large molecules. Cuba kita banding sekarang. Ada berapa free water molecules from solution A to solution B? Solution A ada 8 water molecules, whereas in solution B there are only 2 water molecules. So we know that from here there is a concentration gradient. Ada perbezaan kepekatan air when comparing solution A and solution B. Kita tahu kita tak boleh compare kepekatan large molecules sebab large molecules tidak boleh merentasi plasma membrane. So we know that there is a difference in water molecules. Water molecules will diffuse from solution A to solution B. So take a look what happened. So take a look at what happened. Some of the water molecules in solution A diffuses to solution B. At the end of this process, we can see that the final number of water molecules in solution A is the same as the number of free water molecules in solution B. Walaupun water molecules tu bilangan dia dah sama, yang saya maksudkan dynamic equilibrium, maksud dia ialah water molecules from solution A can still move to solution B, and water molecules from solution B can still move to solution A, tapi the number of water molecules 5 di solution A, 5 dekat solution B tu will always be maintained. Water molecules bergerak tapi bilangan molekul tu sentiasa sama. Up until now, do you have any question about osmosis? I repeat balik dekat sini animation dia. Nombor 1, solution A has higher water potential than solution B because solution A has higher number of water molecules compared to solution B, number 1. Number 2, semi-permeable membrane is impermeable to large molecules. So large molecules cannot move from solution B pergi solution A. So instead of balancing the concentration of solute, kita balancekan the concentration of water. Therefore, water molecules diffuse from solution A to solution B. So let's take a look. Okay, bukan semua water molecule diffuse because it only occurs until both solution achieve dynamic equilibrium, where we can see the number of free water molecules in solution A is the same as the number of free water molecules in solution B. Anak-anak, osmosis ni ada apa-apa nak tanya tak?
Excuse me, teacher.
Ya, Anissa.
So maksudnya sampailah diorang dua solution ni reach equilibrium, sampai itulah diorang takkan stop sampai kalau diorang, maksudnya kalau diorang dah reach equilibrium baru diorang stop diffusing, macam tu, teacher?
Bukanlah stop diffusing. Nak kata apa the water molecule still move from A to B, tapi the number tu is still the same.
Okay.
Dia tak akan stay je dekat solution A tu. Tak juga. Dia akan bergerak. But the net movement A pergi ke B, B pergi ke A will be 0. Itu maksud dynamic equilibrium. The net movement of water molecules from A to B from B to A is zero. Bilangan molekul A pergi ke B tolak bilangan molekul dari B pergi ke A sama dengan kosong. So itu dynamic equilibrium lah. Okay, dia bukan stop tau. Dia bukanlah diffusion to stop, tapi the number of molecules have stop changing lah. Stop changing. Macam pelik je kata stop changing. Will be maintained. Okay, itu yang kita katakan sebagai dynamic equilibrium. Okay, tak apa. Kita cuba pula apply. Kita dah tengok simple diffusion dengan osmosis. So, boleh tak berdasarkan kepada pengetahuan discussion kita tadi, apa yang sama, apa yang berbeza antara simple diffusion dengan osmosis? Apa yang sama, apa yang berbeza antara simple diffusion dengan osmosis? Okay, good. Okay, saya assume sebelah kanan tu ialah osmosis lah. Orange tu untuk osmosis, kiri tu untuk simple diffusion. So, osmosis only occurs only for water. Okay, sebab it is the movement of water. But simple diffusion? Okay. Simple diffusion untuk siapa? Okay, itu adalah diffuses from high concentration region to low concentration region. Okay, statement ni kena hati-hati sebab definition of concentration for simple diffusion tak sama dengan osmosis. Tapi ya, betul, dia masih follow concentration gradient. Tak ada masalah, boleh letak sebagai similarities. Dekat Google Meet sekarang saya tunjuk jawapan semua orang ya. Okay, memang move down concentration gradient. So, simple diffusion, kita tengok concentration apa. Osmosis, kita tengok concentration apa. Okay, good. Occurs until it reach dynamic equilibrium. Betul. Setuju. Okay, good. Good. Simple diffusion involve molecules and ion atau involve solutes, zat terlarut. Okay. Simple diffusion involve molecules and ions, we involve solutes, whereas osmosis involve the movement of water. Okay. Kalau osmosis betul. Simple diffusion involve solute, osmosis involve solvent. Okay, bagus idea ni. Okay. Betul. Refers to concentration of solute untuk simple diffusion, tapi osmosis refers to concentration of water. Pandai. Good. Good observation. Lagi satu difference. Kalau dapat lagi satu difference. Good. Refers to concentration of solute, refers to concentration of water, involves molecules or ion, involves only water molecules. Betul. Dari segi route kan. Kalau simple diffusion must have membrane ke? Osmosis must have membrane ke? Good. Okay. So osmosis can only occur when there is a semi-permeable membrane. Simple diffusion can occur with or without the presence of semi-permeable membrane. I give you around 1 minute to update your slide. Okay, so ini adalah similarities that I can see here. Continues until reach dynamic equilibrium, does not require energy, and then differences, simple requires involve molecules and ions. Osmosis occurs only for water. Difference 1, difference 2, simple diffusion refer to concentration of solute. Osmosis refer to concentration of water. Simple diffusion can occur with or without membrane. Osmosis can only occur when there is a semi-permeable membrane. Simple diffusion refers to solute. Osmosis refers to the movement of solvent. Okay. Okay, you can update your slide. Okay, timer ni untuk mengingatkan saya supaya tidak terlebih masa, nanti tak sempat nak bincang active transport. Okey anak-anak, kita dah tengok simple diffusion, kita dah tengok osmosis. Next class nanti kita akan bincang specifically pasal osmosis. Sebab osmosis ni layak dapat satu subtopik besar untuk osmosis saja. Betapa besarnya peranan osmosis ni. So, these are the two types of transport protein used in facilitated diffusion. Can you provide at least one similarity and one differences between the two type of transport? Okay, dua-dua ni facilitated diffusion. Tapi apa beza channel protein dengan carrier protein? Apa persamaan transport in channel protein and carrier protein? Okay, spot dulu sekejap ya. Saya berikan slide dia. Okay, this one. Okay, text. Okay. Okay, very good. Betul. Channel protein form channel. Oh, sorry. Similarities dulu. Both can allow extracellular substances to enter the cell. Boleh. Kedua-duanya adalah transport untuk lipid insoluble molecules. Betul, saya setuju. Okay, saya setuju. Okay, saya setuju dengan kedua-dua persamaan ini. Okay, persamaan ni adalah daripada Nisa dengan Sarah. Okay, jenis molekul yang boleh melalui transport both channel protein and carrier protein are lipid insoluble molecules atau substances, and both enables the transport of extracellular, bukan extracurricular ya. Itu kat sekolah. Extracellular substances to enter the cell. Okay, extracellular substances. Alright, that is number 1, similarities. Okay. Okay, good. Most of you have identified carrier protein. Okay, ada dua konteks difference yang saya dapat lihat kat sini. Ada yang mencadangkan perbezaan dia ialah dari segi the type of substance that can go through it. For example, channel protein only allow certain molecules to pass through it. Whereas carrier protein have an active site which chemical to be transported must bind. Oh, macam sama je. Sekejap. Kita boleh bagi in terms of ting ting ting. Kejap. There's another one here. Saya clearkan dulu. Okay. This answer has the potential. Good. Okay. This answer has the potential to be a good difference. Bagus. Channel protein allows small size solutes and ions to diffuse across plasma membrane, while carrier protein allows specific large size substances atau molecules. Substance boleh, molecules boleh, such as glucose dengan amino acid. So, kawan kita ni Nur Atira, dia bezakan dari segi jenis substance. Okay, jawapan yang saya paparkan seterusnya ni adalah jawapan yang bandingkan dari segi jawapan yang saya tengah pamerkan di Google Meet sekarang adalah jawapan yang yang mereka bandingkan dari segi cara substances transported. Okay. Kalau channel protein, the solute and ion diffuse across the channel. Tetapi untuk carrier protein, substances have to bind with the specific site atau specific active site atau ada setengah reference panggil binding site. Substances have to go to the specific site of the carrier protein or active site of the carrier protein or binding site of the carrier protein to be transported to the other part of the cell. Okay, so ada dua cara untuk differentiate. Satu, differentiate dari segi jenis substance yang diangkut oleh channel protein dan carrier protein. Satu lagi cara kita bandingkan dari segi mekanisme. Mekanisme macam mana bahan atau substances tersebut diangkut. Okay, saya ulang. Difference yang pertama adalah difference dari segi jenis bahan, small size solutes versus large size substances atau large size solute such as glucose and amino acid. Cara yang kedua, differences yang kedua ialah kita bukan yang ni. Sekejap not this one, another one. This one. Okay. Mekanisme dia ialah channel protein form channels. Menghasilkan liang channels to allow solute and ion diffuse across. Tapi untuk substances yang melalui carrier protein, they have to bind with the specific site in order to be transported from one side of the cell to another. Okay, similarities, most of you have it correctly, wrote it correctly. Sama ada both allow the transport of extracellular substances ataupun the similarity are the type of substances transported, kan? Okay, saya screenshot semua jawapan ni dan saya share dalam Telegram so that all of you can refer later. Okay, so ini mengenai facilitated diffusion. Memang channel protein is very simple as long as the substance can fit into the channel, it can diffuse from one side to another through channel protein. Tapi the use of carrier protein is a bit complex, ada mechanism dia. So when we compare the rate of transport in channel protein and carrier protein, studies have shown transport using channel protein is much faster compared to carrier protein. Okay, kenapa carrier protein transport dia lambat? For example, this is an example in our syllabus, the transport of glucose. So, even though we use carrier protein, the transport of glucose, for example, still follows concentration gradient from high concentration gradient area to lower concentration gradient area. So, glucose will bind to the specific site of the carrier protein. The presence of glucose in the specific site will uh, will will signal the carrier protein to change shape. When the carrier protein change shape, then glucose will be transported to the other side of the carrier protein. Ini example. Mari kita apply. Kita dah belajar the structure of villus found in the small intestine. Sekarang kita nak apply ilmu atau pengalaman daripada transport of pengalaman yang kita belajar daripada daripada transport of digested substances dekat villus tu, sekarang kita nak apply kat sini. Okay, what is method Q and what is method S? Okay, what is method Q and what is method S? Kita dah belajar different types of passive transport. So, which one? What type of passive transport that occurs here? Okay, saya nampak tulis halus kat atas tu. Okay, idea dia ialah Q is facilitated diffusion, S is simple diffusion. Ya, okay, mari kita tengok. Okay, Q is facilitated diffusion, S is simple diffusion. Sebab apa? We can see the presence of transport protein in method Q, whereas in method S, we can see no transport protein there. So, it simply diffuse across phospholipid bilayer kan? So, apa nak kata ya? Jadi, it is a type of simple diffusion. Okay, tak apa anak-anak. Ini very simple punya. Okay, sekarang ni saya nak tengok kebolehan kamu menilai mana satu facilitated diffusion, mana satu simple diffusion dekat sini. Sekejap ya, saya tukar dulu kepada draggable. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Okay, so in this one, boleh tak tunjukkan dekat saya transport of water, which one? P ke, Q ke, R ke, S? Okay, mana satu menunjukkan transport of water? P ke, Q ke, R ke, S? Okay, sekejap ya. Saya show responses. Okay, mana satu yang menunjukkan transport of water between P, Q, R, S? Okay, yang tak bergerak tu. Okay, tak apa. Tapi yang tak bergerak tu biarkan dia. Okay, Halis, what do you think? Antara P, Q dengan R dengan S, mana satu Halis? Gerakkan dot tu pergi dekat dia punya ni. Okay. Now, one more time. Oh, sorry. Okey, sekarang semua orang dah betul. Okey. Soalan seterusnya, yang mana satu yang antara P, Q, R dengan S yang menunjukkan transport of lipid? Transport of lipid pergi ke mana? Antara P, Q, R dengan S yang mana? Okay, good. Okay, untuk fructose dan glucose. Fructose dengan glucose antara metod P, Q, R dengan S untuk mana? Okay, antara P, Q, R dengan S, fructose dan glucose guna metod apa? Okay, ada divided ya. Ada yang pilih P, ada yang pilih Q. P sebab apa? Sebab fructose warna purple So fructose ni anak-anak is a type of monosaccharide, sejenis gula ringkas, adik-beradik dengan glucose. So glucose and fructose is transported through the same method, which is method Q, facilitated diffusion. Untuk method P ni anak-anak, method P ni adalah active transport. Kita akan belajar nanti dalam digestion um, walaupun kita initially angkut glucose masuk ke dalam salur darah daripada villus masuk ke dalam salur darah, glucose tu initially transported using facilitated diffusion. But at the end, we will use active transport to transport all glucose available in our small intestine into the blood capillary towards the end. Okay, so tapi kita tak discuss benda tu kat sini Kita discuss masa kita bincang nutrition nanti. So we have arrived at almost the end of our discussion. Saya nak kita ada lagi 2 slide nak go through. Okay, this one. Okay, a good example of active transport is sodium potassium pump. Okay, cuba kamu lengkapkan slide ini sambil tu saya jelaskan ya. Okay, based on this image, can you complete the following statement for the transport of sodium ion sahaja? Ada berapa biji sodium ion transported and what happens after that? Okay, cuba tengok pada GIF ni, image ni. Okay, let's see. You have to include the number of substance ya. Oh, saya tak boleh tunjuk lagi. Sebab bila saya tunjuk response, animation tu tak bergerak. Kalau nak tengok animation tu bergerak, tengok pada Google Meet ya. Bagus. Okey, kita mula dengan 3 sodium ions bind to the binding site in the carrier protein. Lepas sodium ion bind, siapa yang bind? Bukan Na+, apa dia? Nampak tak circle warna orange tu? Itu yang bind to carrier protein. Okay, 1 phosphate from ATP binds to carrier protein. Betul. ATP binds to carrier protein. And then barulah statement yang ketiga, ATP hydrolyzed to become something. Betul, ATP binds to carrier protein. Saya setuju. Bila bind, barulah dia boleh putuskan satu kaki fosfat dia tu. Okay, good. Okay, most of you have responded. Oh, okay, nampak bertindih tapi tak apa, I can still see it. Okay, 3 sodium ion binds to the binding site in carrier protein. And then bila dah ada sodium ions, carrier protein tetap tidak berubah bentuk sebab carrier protein tunggu kehadiran ATP. So step number 2, ATP binds to the carrier protein. When it has bonded with carrier protein, ATP will be hydrolyzed to form ADP and phosphate. ADP and P. ADP plus P. Plus P atau plus phosphate. So, phosphate ADP akan meninggalkan carrier protein, ADP akan keluar dari carrier protein, meninggalkan satu phosphate. So, the phosphate bond provide energy to the carrier protein to change shape. When the protein has changed shape, Na plus transported out of the cell. Jadi matlamat sodium potassium pump ni is to transport 3Na plus out of the cell and transport 2K plus into the cell. So, dalam GIF yang saya bagi ini, kita dapati selepas itu 2K plus enters the binding site and then phosphate will move out of the carrier protein, causing the protein to change shape once again and transported potassium into the cell. Okay, part tu yang kita tak buat hari ni, kita hanya buat Na plus sahaja. So, banyak lagi tindak balas yang berlaku dalam sel kita. Macam ni lah cara organel atau komponen dalam sel tersebut bertindak balas dengan kehadiran tenaga. ATP datang bagi satu fosfat pada struktur tersebut dan struktur tersebut baru bertenaga nak buat kerja. Okay ya. So, next class kita akan bincang soalan ni iaitu kesan cyanide terhadap active transport in root hair cell. This part we will discuss during our next class. So, in case nanti bila kamu nampak notes nanti, kamu perasan soalan ni kan? Soalan ni saya bawa untuk next class. So, we have only 1 minute remaining. Can you give me a bit of response, a bit of feedback regarding to this lesson? What do you think? What did you like? What didn't you like? Am I going too fast ke? Atau rajah tak sesuai ke? What was easy? What was hard? If there is anything you want me to repeat, put it under what was hard. Okay. Sambil kamu tulis tu saya summarize. Basically, we have discussed about all types of passive transport and we have also discussed about active transport. For this subtopic, the main takeaways are the conditions that we need to have in order to conduct different types of passive transport and the conditions that we need to see before we start talking about active transport. Okay, and then for each type of transport, we have discussed specific example. For example, simple diffusion pada alveolus, facilitated diffusion pada villus, and active transport that we will discuss, active transport that occurs in the root hair cell. Okay, active transport and facilitated transport nak tengok balik ya. Okay, nanti saya cuba. And then we can see that later, active transport in root hair cell ni penting sebab dia ada kaitan dengan osmosis. Tak ada active transport, osmosis air tidak berlaku pada root hair cell. Nanti kita bincang. Alright, so thank you so much for all of your responses. Tinggal Rahil dengan Sarah saja nak tulis, tak ada masalah. I can wait. So, thank you so much for all of your responses. Thank you so much for coming today. If you have any questions or anything you want me to repeat, you put it under what was hard. So, thank you so much for coming. Sekian wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum.